possible that such conversations will be picked up on YouTube. I would just like to ask the committee members to introduce themselves by stating their name and the ward they represent, and likewise can the officers introduce themselves. So if I start with on my left.
Oh, good morning everybody, my name is Peter Haynes, I represent Appledore Ward.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kerry O'Rourke. I also represent Appledore Ward.
Sorry, Councillor Doug Bushby, Bideford North.
Good morning, Jane Whittaker, Northern and Orchard Hill.
Good morning, Chris Leather, Northern and Orchard Hill.
Phil Pennington, Monkley and Putford.
Good morning, Rosebery Lock, Two Rivers and Three Boars.
Good morning, Peter Stapley, Planning Officer, Torridge Council.
Good morning, Helen Smith, Planning Manager, Torridge Council.
Morning, Stacey Dory, Head of Legal and Governance.
Shelby May, Democratic Services Officer. Good morning, I'm Lauren Glover, I'm also Democratic Services.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the agenda, item number 1, apologies please.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Smith, but he's not provided a substitution.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of October on pages 5 to 14 of your agenda.
I'll move those minutes, Chair.
Thank you.
Happy to second.
Councillor Bushby,
4.
Councillor Hames,
4.
Councillor Leather,
4.
Councillor Locke,
4.
Councillor O'Rourke,
4.
Councillor Pennington,
Abstain.
Councillor Whittaker.
Abstain.
5 for, 0 against, and 2 abstentions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Item number 3, declarations of interest. Members with interest to declare should refer to the agenda item and describe the matter of the nature of their interest when the item is being considered. Elected members of DCC and town and parish councils who have considered a planning application by virtue of their membership at that council hold a personal interest and are deemed to have considered the application separately, and the express views of that council do not bind the member concerned, who consider the application afresh, which may include further information. Item number 4, the agreement of the agenda between parts 1 and 2. We have no part 2. Item number 5, urgent matters. I have none. Stacey?
No challenge?
No.
No. Item number 6, public participation. The order of speaking is a member of the town or parish council, 2 members of the public against, 2 members of the public in support. All of the above have 3 minutes each. And finally, the ward member may speak, and they are not limited to 3 minutes. So item number 7, going on to the planning applications. Application A, application number 1/056725 LA, change of use of library to create multifunctional sport and fitness facility, including the installation of 3 air source heat pumps and roof-mounted solar panels at the Town Hall, Bideford. And it's on pages 15 to 46 of your agenda. Are there any declarations of interest? So the officer will now give the presentation, please.
Thank you, Chair. And as you said, yeah, this application is 1/0567/2025/A. It's the change of use of the library to multi-functional sport and fitness facility and associated
Can everyone hear?
operations.
Just.
Yeah, if you could speak up.
Yeah.
I'm behind you, sir.
Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so here we have the location plan within the centre of Bideford. You can see the Bideford Long Bridge on the right there, and the church to the southwest. It is within the conservation area, and there are a number of designated heritage assets surrounding the site. The application site is also a designated heritage asset. Next slide, please. Here we have the kind of principal elevation, the east elevation of the main town hall. You can see there in the red brick. We have Tanton's Hotel next to it, which is residential accommodation. This is stood on the Long Bridge. Next slide, please. And here we have, again, that principal elevation of the buildings. And here we have, again, so it kind of has 2 principal elevations. So we have the north elevation here, again, you can see its visual attractiveness. It is a designated heritage asset. These are distant views looking back from the other side of the River Tor. These are looking at the east elevation here. You can see it in the site context, the wider townscape. These roof slopes are the most prominent for the solar panels, hence why this is an important view for you to consider. And here we have a view of the rear of the building. So we're stood within the confines of the church, which is again a designated heritage asset. We're looking back onto the roofscapes there. So the one on the left there is from further within the church, and then the one on the right is stood at the church door. And here we have from the pedestrian walkway right behind the application site. You can see the kind of the roofscape and the context with the boundary wall and the building beyond. And here we have that other side of the wall, other side of the walkway. You can see the courtyard there with the existing single-storey extension, which is to be replaced. And here we have a roofscape of both of the buildings. So we have the library element on the right, which is to be converted into the gym, and then we have the town hall element on the left. Just some internal office space of the existing office spaces currently. So you can see kind of the detail and the simplistic design of the internal spaces. And here we have some more of the internal office spaces. You can see the parquet flooring and the existing uses or former uses. And here we have an internal corridor. So this was previously blocked up as part of the works. That has been opened up again and will be utilised. There will be a lift proposed here. And here we have some internal spaces for the gym area. So this is the former library. So on the left we have kind of the weightlifting room, and then on the right is going to be a studio for like Pilates. And here we have like the another gym space, former library, with the external access back out onto the rear of the building. And again, just running through the plan. So here's the location plan, application outlined in red. Here we have the north elevation, east elevation. Here's the south elevation with the proposed solar panels. The west elevation. Again, the west elevation from a view within the courtyard, showing the air source heat pumps there and the structure they'll be on. And then looking back onto that, kind of slicing back onto that side, so seeing the boundary wall, you can see the platform that the air source heat pumps are on there. And here we have the site plan showing the location and the amount of solar panels there, the location of the air source heat pumps behind, and the single-storey extension to the rear. Here we have the ground floor plan, kind of showing the uses of the space. So the gym element within the former library, amendments to circulation and corridor, the proposed rear extension replacement, and then a series of co-working and meeting rooms and a breakout room within the town hall element. And then there's a manager's accommodation to the top of your screen there within that town hall element as well. And again, just a kind of a visual for that. So these are the use spaces for that. So the gym's in yellow there. We have WC and shower facilities in blue, back office or back of house managerial offices there, and then the work hub meeting rooms in orange. The first floor plan, so there are amendments to kind of internal doors and secondary glazing within the town hall elements. Structurally, nothing's being amended in terms of no knocking around walls internally. And again, a second floor plan, in secondary glazing and internal doors being amended for fire safety. The gym roof schedule of works. So here we have kind of description of the works proposed, the gym roof. Slide. And here we have a gym section. So they are proposing secondary kind of mechanical ventilation system within that gym, which will be a new feature. Details of that have been conditioned, given the conservation officer's views, and it also shows the structure in which the air source heat pumps are going to be located. Next slide, please. And then kind of a door schedule. So these are the doors to the old meeting chamber. They're proposed to be replaced. So an application was previously considered by the Plans Committee and approved in 2024, relating solely to the library element for a gym. So it does have an extant planning permission. This was the approved plan at that time for that application. And again, this is the proposed ground floor for this application. So the elements are very similar within that gym. There's a little bit more detail in terms of they've shown what type of gym facilities are within that. The material planning considerations for this application were the principle of development, the impact on heritage assets, design and impact on character and appearance, impact on amenity, sustainability, access to and highway safety, drainage and flood risk, impact on wildlife and ecology, including ecological impact and biodiversity net gain, other matters, and then there was a planning balance and conclusion, given it is a less than substantial harm to the heritage asset.
Sorry, what was that last statement you made?
So there's a planning balance because there's a less than substantial harm, so you have to weigh the public balance, public benefits against the harm, less than substantial harm. So there is a planning balance that was undertaken. Next slide, please. The recommendations for a grant.
Thank you very much. We have one registered speaker, Mr. Mark Simmons, if you'd like to come up to that chair there. You have 3 minutes when you're settled.
Okay. Stopwatch. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I am speaking on behalf of the residents of Church Walk and Tower Street, which surround that area. The Bideford Library and Town Hall are the town's Instagram photo op. It's the featured image on the Visit Devon website at an angle, I might suggest, which will show off these solar panels. Which is ironic given that it got the nod through from the listings officer because it would be okay if you couldn't see it from a certain angle. When I was looking at material factors for this decision, the two that stood out for me were the effect on listed buildings and conservation area and noise and disturbance resulting from use. There will be a significant negative impact on both. If you're doing this to make it green, then just do a collaboration with a green energy company. Because if you put this proposal through with these solar panels and air source heat pumps, you're setting a precedent. And that precedent is, doesn't matter how important a building is in the area, you can stick solar panels and air source industrial equipment on the back of it. The noise from the 3 industrial air pumps will be extremely disruptive. The noise impact report assumes a best case scenario. It doesn't account for the acoustics of the area or the fact that we all have single glazed old windows because we live in listed buildings in a conservation area. It also falsely claims there are no external facilities at nearby dwellings. It's not true. I have a garden, as do my neighbours. And that's not to mention the area in front of the church, which is used for funerals and weddings. And you're going to get the constant drone of these air source pumps going. And that's the last thing anyone wants. So you have a report that is best case, factually incorrect, and even then it concludes by stating there will be a negative reaction from nearby residents and the client should remain committed to operating the units efficiently. That's the only way that goes under the sound barrier, and that's not going to happen. This project would have probably benefited from direct democracy. But I suspect that if you ask the people of Bideford, they wouldn't want their most iconic building transformed into a white elephant and covered in solar panels and industrial plants. The current proposal would further erode the town's character, a town that, when it was made a conservation area, was described by the Council for British Archaeology as being of national importance. If you approve this, that erosion will be your legacy. look, I think I've got about 30 seconds left.
30 seconds left.
Okay, look. If you want to turn it into a 10th gym the town doesn't need, then fine, go ahead. But what I would say is, for the sake of Bideford, for the sake of us residents, for the sake of tourism, that's what that building should be used. Get tourists into the town, not push them away. Don't approve it with these solar panels and air source pumps out the back.
Well done.
Thank you.
Right, I'll now throw the matter open for discussion. Who'd like to kick off, please? Yes, Councillor Pennington.
Just, my one big concern, because I know when Devon County had the library in the town hall previously, access and disabled access was a problem. And look at DMO4, design principles, all accessible to all, flexible to adaptation and innovative. And I don't see this in this situation. I am worried there will be a whole group of our residents who may not be able to access through the, is there anything in there that reflects disabled access to the town hall, please?
Yeah, so the works have been carried out to improve access. So they're proposing a lift to do the split levels within the site. They're including accessible corridors and shower room at the back to improve that accessibility for all members of society. The lift is retaining within the town hall to get you up to
upstairs,
the second floors, but there's also a lift proposed to get you down to the gym facilities. There's widening of the accesses, removing doors which are too small for a wheelchair to fit through, and there's an accessible shower out the back, which is in the new extension. So they are improving facilities through the range of measures for that.
Okay, and my second concern obviously is noise, as mentioned by the speaker. It is in a narrow gangway, and I see that if there is high noise, it will be the Torridge environmental officers that will be inspecting a Torridge building. And I just wondered if there's a safety net there for some independent assessment, should we approve this today?
Yeah, so I believe you retained the condition regarding the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the report was carried out by an independent person, obviously from the applicant's side, and the Environmental Protection Officer has reviewed that. They have put in their measures which can be mitigated, as such as the quiet noise function of the air source heat pumps. The Environmental Protection Officer has reviewed that and agrees that the report is robust enough and it's site specific. So someone has been out there to assess that. And there is a condition recommended, condition 16.
Yes, my specific question is about, we're monitoring ourselves, and it is about public confidence that the system is open. That's where I'm coming from, Peter.
Yeah, so
how will that work? I mean, how will confidence be trusted? You know, if a member of the public makes a complaint, they're going to be quite concerned that it's going to be a Torridge officer and doing the investigation.
Which I understand. There is no mechanism for outside source.
Okay.
However, the intention of that is that the officers are unbiased in their assessments, and that should be the starting point. Because all officers.
The final point for me at the moment, and listen to others. I come in this morning and I see the air source heat pumps for Cadstown up here. They've got greenery grown up in between them, which is a risk in itself. Who's going to maintain these? Because obviously our green source heat pumps outside our windows here aren't being maintained properly. There is I'm almost tempted to say a fire risk, but it's not appropriate to go down that line this morning. But I just see that maintenance of our own present heat pumps here, which is suitable for this building, not being maintained.
Again, that would be a management issue, so estates, Torridge Estates would be.
Okay. I'll silence down, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Bushby.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I have to say, I do have some serious concerns about this application. Obviously, I was part of the planning committee when it was first mooted that when it was considered to be turned into a gym, which that was in its infancy. Now we see the detail of exactly what is being proposed. And I must say that I do have some concerns about the solar panels on the town hall building. It is a beautiful building. You view it even from the church when you're looking at it from the back of the building. It's still a very attractive building. And I can't see anything that is going to enhance it in any way by putting solar panels on the roof. Air source heat pumps, I'm yet to be convinced on the effectiveness of them. We had an application a few months back with a small air source heat pump in Appledore. There was an awful lot of concerns about the noise that was going to, how it was going to affect the neighbouring properties, etc. These are commercial ones, so obviously they're going to be considerably larger than a domestic one, and there's going to be 3 of them. So there is the potential, as the first public speaker said, of and should residents really have to get used to something that's being sort of imposed on them? Probably not. The point was made about this is one of 10 gyms in the town, and I did state last year or whenever we had the first application, should Torres Council really be in competition with other gyms around the town that they're charging business rates potentially for? Do we need another gym? That point is probably been made. I'll concede that point, but I think as a bit of a North councillor, and this is right in the centre of my ward, I have to say I do have serious concerns about mainly the 2 items that I've talked about, the panels on the roof and the air source heat pump. But I'm also a little bit concerned about what's being done to the interior of the building. I mean, the doors that you said were all going to be replaced. I like those doors. Those doors determine what the town hall is. Why do you have to rip out all the nice the features that have been there for 100+ years? Perfectly usable doors. You're going to say it's fire doors and everything like that, probably, but
If I just come back on some of those points. So, firstly, I noted that the previous application you said was in the infancy of the project.
Yeah.
It was a full application, so at that time
it was a gym.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything about air source heat pumps and solar panels.
In terms of that use, it wasn't an infancy of its necessarily of its progression. It was a fully detailed application. They've just put a bit more detail on the plans for this application, but the use is exactly the same. So essentially it has an expedient application, and that can be converted to a gym.
So why is it coming back now then, if it's already got all these permissions in place?
Because they're coming back for a more comprehensive scheme in terms of the co-working space and the manager's office for the gym, and the additional amendments to improve accessibility. So those 3 needed to accompany the gym to make it an attractive offer.
You talked about the lift. There's already a lift in the building to the upper floors.
So there's a split level between the library and the town hall currently. I don't know if you want to go back to the.
Get the plan proposed.
So.
Yeah, there is a platform that takes you from the town hall building down into the library building.
Yeah, so that's where the stairs are.
I mean, that's a busy plan.
Yeah, so if you see,
That bit in the middle.
So that bit in the middle there. So they're removing that platform lift, which would go down past the old stairs if you were going up to the 2nd floor, and they opened up. I showed a photo earlier of the arched door, the arched doorway. They opened that up because that was previously blocked up late 20th century. They've opened that up again to improve connectivity between the 2 buildings, and they're proposing a lift to get down those 3 stairs there instead of the platform lift around the other side.
So the existing lift will be removed?
Not the lift to go to the 2nd and 1st and 2nd.
That's
floor.
just good ground to the lower level then?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Do you want me to come back on the Environmental Protection Officer's comments? So as I said, there has been a site-specific noise impact assessment carried out in terms of the correct BS 4142. The Environmental Protection Officer has reviewed that. I believe the report commented that there's no external amenity area for Tanton's Court. It did take into account the amenity areas for the Church Walk properties. given the Tantons Court is immediately adjacent to it, because they don't have amenity area which is found acceptable.
Can I ask, has there been any comparison done between the cost of the existing type of heating, which presumably is gas in there now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is there a comparison between upgrading the existing gas to what we're proposing to spend on air source heat pumps, et cetera?
No,
As
nothing's
cost
been
ratio?
submitted with the planning application, whether that's been carried out by the projects team.
You know, one of the problems we've always had in that building is it's always too hot. When the heating's on, it is very hot. So it's inefficient in the way that it's managed, but there is a perfectly adequate heating system already there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Councillor Whitaker, you're next.
Oh, thank you. I don't know where to start, really. When we started looking at this building, and it was quite a long time ago to have a gym there, I remember thinking to myself, I really don't know why we're doing this. I really don't. And I seem to remember some comment about temporary. We were going to temporarily put a gym there, but somehow that didn't really work because you have to buy all the equipment to put a gym there. So in no time at all, that idea or that proposal seemed to disappear. And I often wonder when we think about having a gym there and we're setting ourselves up in competition to so many other local businesses, why we're doing it. I'm not even sure we ever marketed the actual premises. And I'd love to know if we did or not, because as the gentleman said, and as my colleague here said, it's an iconic building. And I think we have a duty of care, quite frankly. Absolutely, you know, once we've ruined it, we've ruined it. There's no going back. You know, we may not like the idea, but there's no going back. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this planning application that we have to do. Regrettably, some of it we haven't done in the past, and maybe we should have done, but we haven't. So there's things we have to do. But when we look at things that actually impact on the lives of local people, I really do think we have a responsibility to do the best possible for them. And I think some of the things we're suggesting now, because it's prudent, because it's economically a good idea, actually doesn't chill with me at all. So I'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you.
Councillor Hames.
Yeah, I share the concerns of fellow councillors about the possible feasibility of the gym. It's a difficult one because we've agreed in principle, haven't we, on the Mount Zuma, that it should be devoted to a gym. But nevertheless, we've been given details and planning policies which justify in economic terms this sort of development. So we should be commenting on that, I suppose. I was quite surprised there wasn't an independence report on the feasibility of it. I share the doubts about whether a gym will actually work, given the other gyms in the town and nearby. Seems to be the space is quite limited as well. I think the other project, which is a work unit, I think that could probably work, and there's a demand for that. But I do have grave doubts about the gym, really. Also, another point was the impact on parking. I don't know whether a survey, I think the county has said it won't have an impact on the car parking, but again, I have my doubts, and I would wonder whether a survey was done on that, on the likely impact on the number of cars which will be using the adjacent car park. Given the pressure on parking at east of the water, loss of that, it could well be that more people are coming into town to find parking. So I'm surprised there isn't more sort of detail about that, really. And turning to the solar, obviously lead member for climate, I am very keen on renewable energy, given the crisis we're in, given we've got COP30 on at the moment. I'm surprised that some fellow councillors aren't rating that more highly. I'm talking about gas still. Solar panels, as I understand it, the conservation officer has stated that she doesn't have concerns, strong concerns about the location of the panels, which will be, I think, partly hidden. They won't be on front of the building, I don't think. It's been pointed out that Torrington Town Hall, I think it's a listed building, has got solar panels on it. You know, as a council, we've got an objective to reduce our carbon in our buildings, and this is an opportunity again on one of our properties, and it's part of our sort of carbon plan. So I recognise the concerns of some people, but in my view, it wouldn't cause a huge amount of aesthetic damage to the building. And we've noticed, with all the concern about the imminent Holsworthy project of a solar farm, people are all saying that we should put panels on roofs. So there we are. In terms of the heat pumps, I do have some concern and share some of the concerns about the noise, but we have to recognise that there's been an independent assessment of the noise. You've talked about mitigation. I mean, what are the details of the mitigation, and can't we actually sort of specify that should be introduced right from the beginning, really, rather than waiting to see what the response is from local people? I do recognise their concerns. That's the main points. I've got just well, not minor, but I share Councillor Bushby's concerns about the doors. I picked that up. They are quite a feature of the town, all those internal doors. It is a shame to actually get rid of those, but I mean, it may be that you have to do it in terms of fire risk, I don't know, but if we could retain as many as possible, that'd be great. Thank you.
I think the planning officer wants to come
Yeah,
back.
if I just come back on a couple of those points. So obviously, as you said, the highways officer has reviewed the application. If I just read out their response, as per the previous application, I have considered the likely trip generation between the extant permission and that of the proposal. I have also considered the available parking opportunities in the area, as well as the sustainability of the location in terms of transport links. And he raised no objections and didn't request further trip analysis or parking availability analysis. He'd reviewed that in his act and found it acceptable. I will just come back on the doors as well. So where there are doors being replaced, we're not necessarily just chucking the doors out. There is a quite comprehensive door schedule been submitted, and the conservation officer has reviewed that. So the doors are going into essentially storage. So any...
And then chuck them out after that?
Well, no. So obviously they're part of the historic fabric. So
Sorry, that's a silly comment to make, to be honest.
Well, you could turn around and say what.
Can you just let the
storage then?
officer finish his explanation, please?
So the conservation officer requested them to be retained because they're part of the historic fabrics. They are being stored, and if they were to be brought back into the building, they can be brought back at a further later date. That's requested from the conservation officer, and they found that acceptable in terms of that regard. Was there another assessment? Anything you want me to give us?
Yeah, it's about mitigation for the heat pumps, wasn't that, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you said, there was a site-specific assessment carried out, and there is again, I refer to condition 16, where a noise level is excessive, and a complaint by to the local planning authority from the occupant of a dwelling which lawfully existed, then we would carry out that mitigation and assessment. And the noise impact assessment has detailed that it can be things like sleep mode for quiet hours. Obviously, it may predominantly be running during open hours, and there are hours restricting that condition, opening hours. So essentially, at quiet times, that noise would be less.
Question whether we do it at the start, isn't it? Sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Rourke, you're next.
Yes, thank you. Regarding accessibility, you've mentioned that there are going to be some provisions made for wheelchair access, especially between separate levels inside the building. Actually accessing the building from outside, is there a ramp? Because I didn't see that.
I believe the accessibility is going to be...
Do you want photos on the plan?
No, just it'll be from the main door where there is accessibility.
So the true statement of fully accessible is not completely true, and if they are aiming to attain that, when will that be done? Is the accessibility going to be considered in stages? Are they going to open up the first floor before they open up the bottom floor, etc.? My point is if a person with additional mobility needs wants to access any area, will that be done from day one?
So in terms of the town hall element, so those works have been carried out previously, and you have to kind of work with the historic fabric. So kind of that reception area and that first floor where that existing lift is, it has been made as accessible as possible. It's then going out into the further building and connecting between the two, which is the improvements for, essentially. So that initial kind of part is considered already accessible. And then we don't have a phasing plan, unfortunately, at this stage. So if members wanted to, we could condition a phasing plan. It would be unlikely that they would provide the lift or provide the gym facilities without the lift, because the work's been carried out as a whole.
Thank you, that explains much more. And there was just one mention of maybe managers' accommodation. Could you explain what that is, please? Is that overnight accommodation?
Oh, no, sorry, so just a manager's office.
It's only
So
office.
yeah, for the co-working space in the gym, so Active Torridge, I believe are the occupants for the gym. There's an office in the top of the building. I don't know if you want to zoom on the top right.
Councillor Whitaker, you wanted to come back?
I just wanted to say about storing the doors, actually. I hope we're going to store them better than we stored the Octagon many years ago, because that was of considerable local interest and deemed to be a heritage asset a long, long time ago. I know it's a long time ago, but nevertheless, if we're going to store things because we care about them, we should do it properly. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor
Thank you.
Bushwick, you wanted to come back?
Yeah, just a couple of small points. I just want to reassure Councillor Hames, reference solar panels. I've got no problem with solar panels on buildings. I'm looking at the buildings in front of me now. Outside, there's acres and acres of roof space, and there's not one single solar panel in existence. My point was the town hall, I don't think, being a listed building, is the place to have a solar panel. But I'm not against solar panels. I just want to make that clear. I can't pass up the point about the doors. Once those doors are removed and gone into storage, you may as well take them out to the recycling centre. If they're put in storage somewhere, where on earth would Torridge ever use them? You know, we've only got one town hall building. Those doors fit a specific purpose. You know, to take them off and say that you're going to put them in storage, you know, to my mind, that's a bit of a ridiculous comment to make.
Councillor Leather.
Thank you, Chair. Well, the public speaker, I could have written that myself. I agree with every word that he said from Church Walk. The photographs we had, and Peter might show us the photographs of the doors that are going to be replaced in a minute. But the photographs talking about the impact on the area is all from the front, really, from the riverside and from the car park side. Walking down from the parish church, you'll see the tops of those three industrial air source heat pumps. Why they're up on a frame like that, I don't know. There's room behind there to have put them. But they will cause a noise, there will be a noise issue, I'm pretty sure of it now. The other thing on the solar panels, you can get proper heritage in roof solar panels that actually don't look any different to a slated roof. They're more expensive than the ones that sit on the roof, but you can get them. And they do put them all over the place. So that's the type of solar panels, so that in the summer there'll be a bit of electricity generated, not the rest of the year though. But I'm going to move that we refuse this because I think the impact on the heritage asset, and it'll be the same with the listed building application. We did have an application, yeah, on this. It was a pre-planning application. It was just outline of what they wanted to do there, putting a gym in there, and that we did agree. Yeah, all right, you can put a gym in there. We didn't object to that. But when you see the detail now, it just isn't good enough detail, this. And I don't think the people who live in Church Walk and Church Street, not round the back there, and people using the parish church should have to put up with what they'll see from behind, from the church and from Church Walk. And you will see, you'll see the tops of those air source heat pumps. They're only level with the wall, but if you see the photograph earlier, there were two photographs, one taken from coming down, you'll definitely see them. And the noise, I think it'll be terrible, hemmed in like it is there with the walls and that. So I'm going to move that it's refused.
And you'll come up with some policies in a minute.
I'll
for
come up
that,
with
yeah.
Reasons.
Eh?
Reasons.
Yeah, reasons, yeah.
detrimental impact on the area.
I would also say the applicant has, as detailed in my report, willing to remove the solar panels if it is likely to be removed, citing that impact, and they have supplied plans where they are removed. But I believe the plans retain the air source heat pumps.
If you,
I mean, yeah, from my point of view, I was also concerned about the use of the gym, because there's that new gym at Affinity that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that is the use that we've got in front of us. I think the noise from the heat source pumps, condition 16, will hopefully protect the residents from that. But I would move that it is approved, this application, without the solar panels on the roof. That is my proposal.
Chair, can I just say, we were looking at the application, which does include solar panels, not one without. And we've always been, in our training, told that you have to decide on what's before you. We can't say, oh, knock this out, knock that, change this, change that.
Yeah, the officer wants to come
The
back on
case
that.
officer can come back on
Yeah.
that point, councillor Levin.
So ordinarily, we wouldn't allow that, but as a planning officer and a conservation officer have assessed that, and we, in our professional opinions, believe that on balance, that harm is outweighed by the benefits. You're more than entitled to take a different view of that. The applicants have provided plans noting that the comments from the general public that there could be harm, and they've removed those solar panels, and they provided plans for that, and they've said they would be willing to accept an approval with the amended plans for the removal of the solar panels.
Yeah, that's where I got that information from, yeah.
That is detailed in my report.
Councillor Bushley.
well, if it was the removal of the solar panels and the air source heat pumps, then I'm happy to go with it. Otherwise, I will be seconding councillor Elder's refusal.
Councillor Hames.
Yeah, sorry, councillor Leather sort of touched on something I raised at the site meeting about the solar panels. You can get integrated solar panels which are black, which are far less visible, or you can have solar tiles. As I understand it, the concern which has led to putting in the solar panels on a frame is that they may need to be removed. I mean, I don't know why that's been sort of put forward really. Most people who put solar panels on their roofs put them on because they want them there in perpetuity. But why can't we have integrated solar panels which would be far less visible? Maybe the officer could explain.
Yeah, certainly.
I guess the there's more
Right,
information.
Chair.
If I just come back on
Yeah.
the solar panel point, yeah, so there was discussions between the conservation officer and the applicant, so or the agent. The conservation officer preferred them be on a frame because they are easier to remove. The solar tiles are very much in their infancy of coming about. The officer wanted to retain as many slate tiles or natural slate tiles that are on the building currently, and if they're not retained, then like for like is put on. So the solar tiles wouldn't necessarily work in terms of the conservation officer's views. The integrated ones do, to the conservation officer's opinion.
Want to speak about that.
Sorry, can we listen to the officer?
The conservation officer has had experience of approving integrated ones in on listed buildings, and they've actually failed after 10-15 years in terms of their flashings and the leaking. So then they've had to be removed at a greater cost. So their assessment was that they would be put on frames and they're easier to remove so they're not retained indefinitely if they don't produce energy.
Yeah, I mean, integrated solar panels are all over the world, all over the place now. I don't really quite see the problem with them. I also should point out that there'll be presumably a significant cost saving on energy use from using solar, which is something which is great importance to this council. As to heat pumps, Councillor Bushby said he's not sure they work very well. Well, they've been going for years and years in Scandinavia and other countries without any problems. And presumably people don't have a problem with noise either. So, you know, yeah.
I mean, just
Find
coming,
it disappointing really that, you know, we're not prioritising these things.
Just coming back to Councillor Leather's point that he just now about the removal of the solar panels, that was contained in the report. But the removal of the removal of the ground heat source pumps was not included in the report. So that's why I put forward my recommendation. Yes, Councillor Pennington.
Okay, thank you. Listen to good arguments coming forward. I just wanted to pick up a separate issue was highways, and I'm looking now at page 35 of your report, and about development should only be prevented or refused on transport grounds if there would be unacceptable impact on highway safety or the residual cumulative impacts on the road network would be severe. Now, that parking or street area as you come from the mini roundabout to go up to the car park has been blocked many times by cars. And I don't know if you remember our full council, our plans committee of, I think, January the 19th, 2024.
When it snowed.
When it snowed.
We got stuck.
Not even we got stuck, but there was an accident straight in front of us that nearly took all the scaffolding down around. And I have evidence on that day alone of an accident there. There is a situation whereby people coming up to try and get into the Bridge Street car park have to go across the people coming down from Bridge Street. And that's also complicated because sometimes parking people come straight out of the car park downwards rather than going up around as they should do coming down Bridge Street. And I do tend to disagree with the views of the conclusion from Devon County Highways here. But I mean, they're the experts, but my evidence is that there's been really difficult parking issues and it will be exacerbated by this application.
Yes, Councillor Bushby.
I'd just like to expand slightly on what Councillor Pennington has just said. During the daytime, the traffic coming along or Hallam Street is prohibited between 10 and 4. But evenings or after 4 o'clock, you get traffic coming along that way. So if you are approaching the car park from the roundabout, and you, as Councillor Pennington says, you have to turn across the path of the traffic coming down Bridge Street. They should give way to you actually, but you turn across. But you also have traffic coming from Old Hallam Street on your right hand side, which is another consideration. You don't, it's not a problem in the day, but I've seen quite a few near misses coming out of the town hall after meetings with cars coming along there fairly swiftly and then turning left to come down by the roundabout. Just a consideration.
Yes,
So it's
Councillor
not
Milligan.
quite as straightforward as it seems.
Well, I'll add some value to that by saying the roundabout itself is not the easiest one in the town to negotiate, and there have been accidents there. So I think all we're doing really is we're adding a problem to the general movement of cars in that area by actually suggesting that this particular application is the right one to consider. I'm going to vote along with Councillor Leather and Councillor Bushby, I have to say.
So you are seconded the refusal?
I think he seconded before me, actually.
Yeah. Well, no, he was going to second mine if the heat source
Oh,
comes.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
But then I said, if that wasn't the case, I was seconding
That's
Councillor
what he
Leather's.
said, yeah. So I'll come in behind or wherever.
So it probably help to know what the reasons.
We do need reasons then to put forward.
ST15, conserving heritage assets. DMO4, DMO1, amenity issues for the residents of the area, the area in general. Those are 3 of them. If I get the MPPF out, I'll find something in there.
And DMO1, amenity with the noise levels.
So
Sorry, can I just come back? This sounds very negative in many senses when we think about the building and the need to actually take care of the building. And we haven't managed to do so particularly well in the past when you think about it. So I think from my perspective, although I'm going to go with the refusal this time round, I think as a local authority, we ought to think about actually doing better and then bringing it back again.
Okay, so
Well, MPPF 203, conserving the heritage assets and enhancing the historic environment.
and it would just be helpful, Councillor Leather, if you could expand on for each of those what
No, I'll just leave it at that, Helen. That's the policies.
why is it in conflict with those policies? So
They are if you read them.
but yeah, we just need that
Yeah,
that
I
detailed
think
reason.
you need to expand a bit.
So is it you're saying the heritage concerns is that the impact of the solar and the heat pumps and that's it,
Yeah,
or is it
as
more
we've
than that?
discussed, yeah.
So it's the solar panels.
Not the actual, I'm not concerned with turning the interior, the plans of that, apart from the doors, I do agree. Those doors to the town hall should be left on there, and all they needed is automatic opening system put on them, because they are hard to put. That's all they needed, but Peter did show us on the site visits the horrible glass doors they're proposing to put on there instead. I thought they looked awful. So, yeah, I'm not objecting to the gym being put in there, but it's the impact on the amenity area and the detrimental impact on the heritage asset.
Okay, so that would be policy ST15,
Yeah,
policy DMO7. In terms of the MPPF, so paragraph 203 sort of seems to refer more to plans, so local plans. The officer's report refers to one of the main sort of paragraphs. So from paragraph 207 onward, this is the relevant bit for proposals that are affecting heritage assets. So para 215 is key here. So the statutory consultee has indicated there's less than substantial harm. So the requirement is to weigh that harm against the public benefits of the scheme as well. So that needs to be qualified. So I believe the officer's report indicates those benefits as primarily being the renewable energy, supporting
Bringing active use back into.
and supporting the viability of the active use of the building. So all of that would need to be articulated within a refusal reason. I would just highlight that the solar panels could be addressed. So it's important that you're then potentially just looking at the impact of those air source heat pumps, and whether with what is set out in the report as an option, the removal of those panels, that the heat pumps in themselves alone would tip that balance for you, that harm is so great, certainly under para 215. That I think it would just be helpful to have that detailed, so that we can understand.
Well, we've no objection, sorry Chair, we've no objection to the solar panels if they're the correct ones, in the ones that fit in roof, which Councillor Hames has mentioned. There's no need to remove them completely, just to push the rest of the scheme through.
So potentially a different form of solar panels could be agreeable.
Fitted in roof.
I mean,
And why,
It would be interesting
Peter
to
didn't explain, why are the heat pumps stuck up on that big frame?
It would be interesting to understand why one solar panel is acceptable and another one is not, assessing against harm. They're not going to be protruding from the roof slope excessively enough to weigh the balance in a harm and a benefit.
Well, I disagree with you there. I think they are visible from the parish church side.
They will be visible if they're integrated. That's
they would, yeah.
So less of a harm.
So then I put forward a proposition to approve the application minus the solar panels. Do I have a seconder? No, so that's gone by the wayside.
Okay, so going back to Councillor Leather's reasoning, I think, you know, from an officer's point, the concern is that the solar panels could be removed at this stage. There is provision in the report for that. Hear what you're saying, that you feel there could be an alternative that could be better. The case officer has provided clarification on that.
We also have, so we also have condition 10, which states prior to their installation, full details and specification of the solar panels, including their exact siting connections, shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority. So you could capture that they're integrated at that point. The plans don't show they're protruding.
So there is potential to address the solar panels. I just want to make that clear before everybody voting on a refusal reason that addresses that alone. So I think it's important to then consider the air source heat pumps in isolation and whether those in themselves would still give rise to that level of harm that under para 215 that you would consider, and the conflict with the policy. So that's one element. Policy DMO4 was that in relation to sort of design or amenity?
Both.
Both,
Both.
yeah.
So, and then the amenity impacts would just need to be qualified. So, Councillor Leather, you saying that's primarily from the potential noise from the air source heat pumps?
And you'll be able to see them, you will be able to see them. I don't know why they're stuck up on the frame like that. Why they're not, there is a building that's proposed to be taken down.
So, yeah.
Why they're not going to be
So
sold.
you want visibility and noise impact?
So I would just
Stress.
say just as the case officer's done to highlight around noise impacts, the statutory consultee is satisfied with the findings of the noise assessment, which says there wouldn't be harm arising from those air source heat pumps. And there is also a condition to mitigate any potential harm that might arise. So
I think that's condition 16, isn't it?
Condition
Yeah.
16 is in there. So it's important as officers that we just highlight that and say, despite all of those things, whether you still wish to move refusal solely on the basis of the 3 air source heat pumps.
Well, I still think we should refuse it on both, on the solar panels as proposed. All right, I know they can be removed. But why can't Torridge come back with a fresh application stating what they're going to do about the potential problem of these industrial air source heat pumps and the solar panels?
So, I mean, I don't know, Chair and
It's
Stacey,
up to Torridge what they
whether an option is to defer for more information if members would feel that's just another option that we don't consider very often.
If you do defer, Helen, can I just suggest too that we don't start any work until 8 o'clock in the morning rather than 7. We have to be, we have to have a care for the local residents that surround that area.
Yeah, well, that will come in another.
that would- It's just there is a suggestion. I mean, I don't know what the chair and head of legal and governance think about that. It seems that there are concerns around. I think the solar panels, if that's a concern, can be addressed either through the condition or through moving the alternative plan as proposed. In terms of the air source heat pumps, is there more information that members feel they need? I think that's an important question that we ask. If not, and you still have those concerns, it's whether the heat pumps in themselves warrant refusal.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the main concern, the heat source pumps really. So would we have an option to defer?
Well, we
for
can if we
further
want. Yeah, we can.
information to come forward?
So at the moment, we've got a proposal from Councillor Lever, seconded by Councillor Bushby, so it's up to them whether they want to withdraw that or somebody else wants to put forward a proposal to defer.
Can I ask a question, please, Chair?
Yes, Councillor Rook.
Is there any way that this heat pump can be placed inside the building, or does it need to be outside? Does it? Thank you.
So, sorry, just a small point. I should point out that there is a rather unsightly extension already at the back of the building, which is used as a toilet, I think. So all this talk about aesthetics, there's already something there, which is a modern, inappropriate building. Really.
If I just come back, so the air source heat pump is raised because it needs to get airflow. If it's reduced, if it's down low, it's not going to get the airflow that it needs to like do it work properly essentially. So it's raised and that wall has been removed to increase airflow. Now the applicant has been very willing to remove the solar panels. I can see no reason why they would also not be willing to remove the air source heat pumps if members were likely to refuse, and therefore if you would like to defer, that can always be brought up to them, and they'd be more than willing to remove the air source heat pumps to find an acceptable scheme. So,
And I'm willing to withdraw my proposal if Councillor Bushby's happy to withdraw and defer this. We want the doors addressing too, don't we?
We do.
That may come under
Wait a
the
minute.
listed
Yep.
buildings.
Yeah, I would say if there is then a motion to defer it, it's incredibly important that, you know, we're very clear on
Yeah.
why and what it is that members want further information on or to be further considered.
Yeah, Councillor Bushby, then we will go to the
If
vote.
if it was possible to remove the air source heat pumps and the solar panels now, then I'd vote in support with, I'm sure Councillor Leatherwood. The detail of the doors, I think you've got the point of the doors, we don't want to see those doors removed and replaced by horrible modern glass ones. But if those two things could be removed, we could vote on it now, rather than defer it.
We'll just wait and see what the outcome of the ground parts are.
As I've said, I've got no problem as a gym, but those two items, to me, are serious items.
I think there, you know, your description of development before you, like solar panels and the heat pumps, the use has actually already, much of it has been approved previously. So they are fundamentally what you're considering today and the impacts on the heritage asset. I don't know from the applicant's point of view if that works, you know, removing it. It's obviously, there's a commercial viability side to this as well. I think deferring it for one cycle would enable that to be given thought to the background, to those renewable energy aspects, and a further scheme to come back that could remove the solar panels and potentially the air source heat pumps as well. But if not, then it would come back before you with perhaps more clarification as to the importance of why those renewable sources are needed, and you just have more information before you, or indeed those elements removed that could then be supported.
I will recommend from the chair that we defer this application to await further information regarding solar panels and ground heat source pumps. Do I have a seconder?
I wanted to ask a question.
Mm.
It sounds as though you can't really, if you've got to remove the air source heat pumps completely, because it sounds as though you have to raise them sufficiently for the airflow, and I don't understand these things, but for the airflow to work properly.
Quite.
So therefore, you either have them or you don't have them, and I think the view of this committee in the main seems to be you don't have them.
You can get very effective electric boilers these days that run centrally.
But then we need further clarification of what they propose, so I will stick by my,
I'll second
that we,
it.
you'll second that.
Yeah,
Councillor
I mean,
Hales.
you could come back with details of integrated
Yeah.
sorry, Chair, you could come back with details, integrated panels, you could come back with details which would reduce the aesthetic impact of the heat pumps. I mean, what about some sort of design of a sort of, I don't know,
That is the two
covering
main
the heat
concerns
pump.
of the whole
Yeah,
committee, I think.
just come back with more ideas and details, really, I think.
We can, yeah, sorry, Councillor Pennington.
No, that's it.
Yes, Councillor Pennington.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to go back to the retention of the doors. My initial question when I first spoke was about disabled access, and if we retain the doors, are you then losing what Devon Libraries had the difficulty of getting disability access to the rooms? And if you are going to defer,
No.
will you make sure that you look at access, because there is a balance between retaining an heritage asset, but also access for all of our community. So I hope you, if you defer, and I'll go with the deferment, if that will be considered disabled access not being lost if you keep the doors, then I will go with that as well.
And I think, Councillor Pennington, with any report that comes back to you, you would have this original report and then probably an updated addendum report that would address all
Yeah.
of these points.
So it has been proposed by myself, seconded by Councillor Hames, that the application is deferred for further clarification.
Chair, I know Councillor Lever said he may withdraw his
Yeah.
If
motion.
Councillor Bushby's happy
I
to,
didn't have
Are you still standing by that?
yeah.
You
defer.
go for the defer?
Yeah.
Okay, reluctantly, yeah, okay.
So they have been withdrawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so that officers are very clear in terms of what we're then bringing back to you, it's to look at the removal of the solar panels, or an alternative form, potential removal of the heat pumps, or again, something that can
Yeah.
make it sit better with the listed
Yes.
building.
Maybe useful to understand the conservation officer is not happy with the integrated ones, and it gets brought back with no solar panels, it's not going to be
That's fine.
refused.
It's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're not saying it's all going to come back as per removing everything. I think if something is retained in a different form, we can provide more clarification. So again, the heat pumps can be looked at and their aesthetic. The issue around this is more a listed building matter than a full planning application matter. The internal configuration with doors and accessibility, we can provide some more clarification on that. There were some concerns raised around highways and parking. I think I would just want to highlight that there's no objection from the highway officer. This is a town centre site where you can travel by bus, you can walk, you can cycle. That use is already approved and there's an extant consent. So I think your officer's view would be that there wouldn't be merit in a refusal on those grounds. So therefore, we wouldn't necessarily be looking to provide more information on that.
Well, we just have to wait and see to see what the revised application comes back with, and then we've got to make a decision on what we come back with.
Can I then, now we're having determined, Chair, thank you for letting me speak again. I'm speaking too much, I apologise, but I would like an economic impact done here and the viability as of the ability for the gym to be viable, because we are using taxpayers' money and the improvement, and in the private sector you have to balance your books, and I want to make sure that the gym is viable in its own right, and I would like a bit of a viability assessment in that line as well, please.
Yeah,
Just on that point, Councillor Pennington, so the gym already has planning permission and that is extant, that has another
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years to run. So
Has it had a viability assessment done?
that wasn't a requirement to inform that planning application because the use in itself was compatible with the town centre, it was compatible with our community uses policy and the policies that we have. So there was no need to require that from a planning point of view. Whether there has been such a viability appraisal from a sort of corporate council perspective, that's a different matter. But that wouldn't inform the planning.
So I could bring it back as a notice of motion at full council that we ask for a viability assessment to make sure that the gym is a viable standalone proposition. So I could go through another avenue that could.
Again, I think
Yeah.
Stacey would be best placed to comment on that.
Technically, yes, you could. If that viability, I don't know if there has or hasn't been a viability assessment, but if it comes back as not viable in economic terms, it's irrelevant because it's been granted planning permission.
So much for the taxpayer then.
Yes, right, one more comment then.
Well,
and then we will just go
I
to
just
the
pick
vote.
up on that point. Yes, technically it is irrelevant because it's already got planning permission, but it's not irrelevant if members decided they were going to pull the plug and not spend any money on it. Because at that point, it wouldn't happen.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
not planning.
this
Yeah, but
was,
that's
this
not a
was-
planning matter,
Yeah,
really, is
and
it?
it did go to CNR and CNR
Yeah.
agreed that the change of use, so.
Yeah. Right, one last comment, then we are going to the vote.
I just wanted to say, so much has changed since we actually agreed this proposal earlier. I mean, there wasn't a gym up at the upper Affinity then that offers very competitive rates and free parking. And I think that alone changes the picture considerably, and I'm with you. You know, I don't want to see something delivered by this local authority, well, from an arm's length organisations that has links with this local authority that actually is going to fail.
But then you don't, you cannot judge how many people will use a new gym and leave their own
Oh, I
other
know.
gyms, can you? I mean,
know.
that's open-ended book,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, but I just
Yes,
feel,
the
you
officer
know,
wants to come back.
So the community projects officer has commented on the list building was sent, said, as someone whose role pays an interest in all things sports and leisure related within Torridge area, I would support this application knowing there is a need for more in health and fitness / co-working space facilities in Bideford at this time.
It's fine, yeah. There's definitely a need for that.
The fact that.
Right, one final
Well, the
comment, then
fact
I am
that-
going to go to the vote.
And all these policies and a statement in the officer's report from the environment, the what's his name, the economic development officer or whatever, that it's viable, that means that we have the right to challenge that, surely, and ask for a report. You know, even though we've agreed in principle to it on an outline application.
This isn't planning that we're discussing today, but it has already been to full council and CNR.
It's a shame that people approved it on outline.
You know, and so, but it's not really relevant for today's planning
no.
application discussion.
Right, so it has been proposed by myself that we defer the application, and I can't remember who seconded that. Councillor Hames. So we now go to the vote to defer the application for further evidence regarding solar panels, heat pumps,
And internal
and internal
configuration.
alterations. Yeah,
And disability access, please.
right, so we now go to the vote then, Selby.
Councillor Bushby,
For,
Councillor Hames, Councillor Leather,
4,
Councillor Locke,
For,
Councillor O'Rourke, Councillor Pennington,
Or
Councillor Whitaker.
For
That's unanimous, Chair.
thank you very much.
With the next one, which
Yeah.
is the listed associated listed building, I'm just not, the case officer still needs to
Can
read.
we- the same apply for the next one? There's the same,
It would need to be
Yeah.
deferred. It's whether we have to go through the presentation, Stacey, or whether
No.
that can just be moved
Defer it,
now.
bring it forward for the.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
so going on to the second item on the agenda then is the list of building consent for the same plan and application, the same premises. So I will propose that we defer this application
Yeah, I'll
as
second
well.
that, Chair.
Do we have a seconder?
yes, I'll second that, Chair.
Councillor has seconded. So we now go to the vote on that one then, please.
Councillor Bushby,
for,
Councillor Hames,
For,
Councillor Leather,
4,
Councillor Locke,
for,
Councillor O'Rourke, Councillor Pennington,
Or
Councillor Whitaker.
For.
Unanimous, Chair.
thank you very much. Right, moving on to application C on your agenda. Is application number 1/071425 PIP residential development of between 5 and 7 dwellings at Frizzlestone, and it's on pages 60 to 79 of your agenda. Are there any declarations of interest, please? Yes, Councillor Benson.
I called it in, Chair. I am the ward member for Fristock, and I come with an open mind. I called it as a member of the planning committee, and I'm open to listen to the discussion.
But you're
With an
not going to
open-
speak as a ward member, you're
No, I'm
just
not
going to
speaking
join
as
the
a ward
committee.
member, I'm
Yeah,
just
that's fine.
declaring
Yeah.
that I am the ward member and I was the one that called it in.
Right, I now ask the officer to give the presentation.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you said, this is 1/0714/2025/PIP. It's permission in principle application for residential development of between 5 and 7 dwellings at land at Frifflestockstone in Devon. Next slide, please. There is a verbal update to give here. So, the council have released an amended 5-year housing land supply position. It has slightly reduced to 4.6. Previously, it was 4.8, wasn't it?
Yeah.
4.8. So it's slightly reduced. This does not materially impact my decision. My decision in the original report still stands. It's only a slight decrease. And then there was also a representation received from South West Water after the report was published, which stated there should be capacity for only flows to the combined network from this development. Any surface water would have to be dealt with using the hierarchy, but if it had to be added to the combined, we would need to reinforce the network. Attached is a plan that shows there is surface water near the site, which the applicant would be expected to connect to if filtration or discharge to the watercourse was not a viable option. If surface water had come to the combined network, reinforcements can take between 18 and 24 months to deliver. Where this is the case, a Grampian condition would be requested to reduce the risk of a premature connection and associated impacts. Thank you. Next slide, please. So here we have the location plan. You can see Frifflestock Stone kind of built form to the north. There are some scattering of dwellings to the southeast and the recreation ground to the south, and greenfield agricultural land to the west. And here we have an aerial image of that application site outlined in red. Again, you can see the play field below to the south, and the built form was Frifflestock Stone to the north. Here we have the highway access viewing north. You can see there's pedestrian access there into the settlement. Next slide, please. And here we have highway access viewing southeast, so it goes into rural lanes there with no pedestrian access beyond that on the other side of the road or the other side of the highway. And here we have the application site. It's a greenfield land at the moment. Boundary hedges along the south and residential properties along the north, which you can't see here. Again, just a view of the greenfield land that is the current application site just beyond the fence there, and you see the countryside beyond that. This is a view kind of stood at the entrance for the play park, looking back onto the site. Again, you can see the gently rolling hills, which is a landscape character type for the area, with the application site just beyond that fence, just there. And looking back along the lane here, so this is the main and only access for the play park. You can see the dwelling beyond the application site there, and the application site on the left there. And again, just a closer up image of that. So you can see the application site is the greenfield land right before you, and then there's a dwelling beyond that. Here is the play park on the left. There's a football field and some equipped play equipment. And then you see the boundary is a hedge. You can see there on the right-hand image with the application site on the right-hand side of that hedge and the play park on the left-hand side of that hedge. And here we have distant views back from a highway on the other side of that rolling hill you saw earlier, looking back onto Frifflestock. So you can see the application site pointed out with a red arrow there, and you can see the Frifflestock Stone just to the left of that. And again, here we have the location plan, given the nature of the development or nature of the application. This is the extent of which we have to consider today. Plan considerations for this application are location, land use, amount, other matters which are non-material, and a planning balance. In conclusion, given that we have a lack of 5-year housing land supply, applications for residential development have to be assessed against the planning balance. Thank you very much. The recommendation is for refusal.
Thank you. So we have one public speaker, Rebecca Fernley, please.
Thank you. Good morning, members. Yes, so I'm the agent for this application, and obviously in front of you today is a planning and principle application. So it's really for consideration of location, land use, and the amount of development, the technical details for approval at with the next application. So obviously in the context of the council having not having a 5-year housing land supply and that having decreased, then the tilted balance applies, and we should look at new sites that are well related to existing development. In terms of location, Frifflestock Stone is a sustainable location. It's got good transport links. It's got a good vibrant village hall that puts on a lot of events. It's on a bus route. And it's got a good play park that this site is well related to. I think also in the context of that, we had a planning and principle approved last week in Stibb Cross for the same amount of dwellings, very similar location, and that was under delegated powers. And is very similar and can't be argued as less sustainable in terms of links to the surrounding towns and villages and the sort of local centre of Bideford. The site is located adjacent to housing on Hill Lane, and actually the officer's image showed that quite nicely. There's housing to both sides of the lane there as well. And there's good footpath links to the rest of the village, so it's very well related to the village. In terms of the amount, the PIP puts in a range of 5 to 7 dwellings for the site, and as part of the technical approval, which would be the next stage of the application, anything over 5 will deliver affordable housing. That's what the policy says. So considering an application of up to 7 dwellings would mean that there were potentially 2 affordable dwellings delivered within that. So I think that has to be something that is considered as a benefit for the village, because a lot of applications under 5 are not delivering any affordable housing. Also wish to address the reason for the call-in and clarify that the access to the play area won't be affected by this. So the landowner was the landowner at the time that the play park was sort of positioned in that area, and they were the original owners of the play park. And there is a separate legal agreement which has been provided, which secures the access to the play park in perpetuity. So we wouldn't be looking to affect that, just improving the highway links really as part of that. And also just to address the South West Water comments, I take on board their hierarchy. That would be something that was looked at the technical detail stage, but there is a watercourse within the applicant's ownership that would be suitable to discharge attenuated surface water to. So if soakaway does not work on the site, then surface water attenuation to
Can I ask you to wind up, please?
Yes, you can. That is a possibility. So we respectfully ask that you approve the application when considering the tilted balance and the lack of 5-year housing land supply. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Right, I now throw open for the matter for discussion. Who'd like to kick off, please?
Better way to start again from that point of view. First of all, the Parish Council's comments were the basis of my calling to start with. Can you explain to me, and I should know more about PIP, and I do apologise for my ignorance, but outline plan permission is different to permission in principle, okay? Can you explain to me how we are protecting that pathway to start with? I just want to be clear, and the council wants, Parish Council I think would like to be clear, how that pathway is being protected if we approve it today and it comes back at a later stage. What happens when we call in something? Can we call in at the second stage when technical matters are discovered basically, or considered basically?
Yeah, so again, it's a different way of obtaining planning permissions. With PIPs, to get planning permission as such, you need to get the PIP and the TDC, and they combine to create the planning permission. Obviously, outline is a permission in its own right, and then they come in for reserve matters. So by granting the PIP, you don't necessarily grant planning permission. They need to secure both elements of that.
Okay, so that begs then the second question as we as councillors, and given it will probably be a 3-year, whatever you begin works by, we probably won't be a council in 3 years' time. So there's a little bit of a concern there about protection of who is going to call in. Can we call in on technical matters levels and not on reserve matters?
Yeah, so you could call in a...
We can call in.
Yeah, and we have had one come before committee before. So as things currently stand with the constitution...
Currently stand worries me a bit, but...
you could call in a technical details consent.
Right, the quality right, and the other comment I just want to make to start with as well. I mean, I saw the South West Water comment there on the screen. We had an application in Litlam the other day, and it came before committee, and South West Water then said there was not enough supply in Litlam, for goodness sake. And it amazes me that you built one house in Litlam, and it hasn't got capacity. We can build 2,000 houses in Bideford, not do anything to the sewage works, and we still have a situation whereby we don't need to do anything. I just see, you know, the villages are going to get strangled in a minute because they need numbers. They have a vibrant community at Fristock. I think I admire the spirit they have. They keep their own play park going beautifully up there. The village hall is a credit to them. And there's a bus stop up on the corner, for goodness sake. Just on that bus stop, by the way, there was a grant from Devon County Council, and they put the new bus stop over there, and a lorry came around the corner and drove over the bus stop, unfortunately. An issue around that one. But the community is fantastic, and if we don't allow housing, I really do concern for the well-being of villages. And you said there was one allowed at Stibcross previously. It's on the same bus routes as Fristock and Monkley are as well. And these are the villages that we need to be seen to be supporting. And you're gonna ask me for reasons, I suspect, in a minute. But if there is, we've got to argue in terms of we haven't got the 5-year land supply, and tilt a balance, and we, look at our communities, and then we look at our local plan, and we're just sinking in the middle, unfortunately. And that's what I find really sad. Thank you.
Can I come back on
Yeah,
that
come
now?
back on
So
that.
just on the sort of comparison with Stib Cross, I think it's really important, particularly even more so with an application like a permission in principle. You are just looking at the principle here. So fundamentally, you're looking at the location, the use, and the amount, and is what before you as a proposal acceptable? As you all know, your starting point is the local plan. Yes, we don't have a 5-year land supply, but you still start with the local plan. And it's the local plan that directs you, officers, to what is sustainable. And Fritherstock Stone is a rural settlement by virtue of the village hall, and it has the play area. And the policy is very clear, both local and national policy is very clear that you should only be allowing local needs housing in such locations. The plan is very, very clear on that and consistent with the NPPF. Or affordable-led rural exception schemes. Now, that isn't what's before you. You have a range of 5 to 7 open market dwellings. If 5 come forward, there would be no affordable component. So I think it's just really important to understand that. I believe it was the same amount, well, same application essentially in Stib Cross, but Stib Cross is a village, it's a higher order settlement. So the local plan, which is your starting point, directs development of that nature to that location. And actually, if you can get, and there is a risk, you would only have 5 come forward. I think the officer's report highlights concerns about the linear nature of Fritherstock Stone and a cul-de-sac of 7 potentially being of concern. So you may only have 5. I think also with the 5-year land supply, you need to be confident as well that it's deliverable and that it would be delivered in a timely manner. This isn't a detailed application. There's further stages to go.
And the Grampian, Southwest Water.
With the Southwest Water dynamic as well. So the detail of the path, yes, it's important, but that would be a technical details consent stage. What really is before you today is this principle, and do you consider an open market scheme acceptable in this location with the starting point, your plan, and national policy?
Because, right, you want to come back on that?
I do certainly want to come back on that, because the speaker did mention that there could be possibility of affordable housing, just not open market housing as well. So there is that possibility. And the very concept of what I understand to be planning and permission is a general agreement that we can still look at again in the future, and we should be more open to saying to a village. And what I can quite see happening is that Fritherstock, the picture you had looking back onto the site was from Langtree Village Hall wall, by the way, because I went out and had a look at the site again the other day. And they're going to look at Stib Cross and Langtree getting bigger as they sink into the wilderness, quite frankly. And I despair about our local plan, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding of a PIT application, we can't put any conditions at all today. So, all planning obligations. We're just establishing the principle. I mean, I do agree with what Councillor Pennington says. Page 68, the first paragraph, when it says the village hall is considered isolated from a rural settlement. I mean, I can think of several village halls that would come under that category. Highhampton, Litland, Bradford and Cookbury and Elverdiscott. They're all away from the main settlement of the village, but they are still well-used facilities. I do agree with the parish council comments, concerns over the potential loss of access, but I think we've had that confirmed, and that would have to come back when they put in their next application. So that's my comments at the moment. Yes, Councillor Ames.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I go along with the officer about local needs really. In this sort of in principle application, we don't know what's going to be put there. You say it could be affordable, but it may not. Could be just sort of luxury housing, which isn't going to help anybody locally, is it? As to the village hall being a community facility, but there are no shops and no pub. Oh, perhaps there's a pub. Is there a pub?
The
No.
pub closed about
Pub's
7
closed.
years ago, if I remember right.
Transport, I'm not sure about that. I thought the bus service was fairly minimal from the officer's report. And also concerned about the access to the play park or recreation facility. Building, putting houses alongside there, in terms of safety for children using that. So I'm not, on those grounds, I don't think it's a particularly good location really for housing.
So are you recommending refusal?
Yeah. On the grounds the officers put forward really.
Yes, Councillor Whittaker.
Yeah, I'm not seconding that. I'm just want to say something. I mean, I was concerned about the access to the playground and the car park, and I understand that now. That's not a problem. And in principle, I would support the application, but I would be far happier if I saw a fully developed application, so I knew for sure that we were going to get
Rather than a pit.
yes, which I'm only learning about now. If we had a full application that showed me we had 7 houses with 2 affordable houses for people that live locally, which I think is always something we really care about, then I would be for it. But at the moment, I would reluctantly would have to go with my colleagues.
That's all second.
So are you seconding the
No, I'm
refusal?
not. I'm just thinking about it.
Yes, Councillor Leather.
Yeah, well, this is planning in principle.
Yes.
We've not got that 5-year housing land supply, so planning in principle really does come with some force, actually, I think. Particularly on this particular site, when you look at it, and my colleague Councillor Pennington has said, the village hall's not remote at all, and you've said not remote, it isn't. And it's a lovely village hall too, for a stop. I'm going to move that we approve this, Chair, because I think they ought to know that 5 to 7 dwellings, if they came back with the technical details application for 4 or 5 bedroom mansions, they'd have a battle on the hand with the plans, with the planning officers, I think. Never mind with this committee, but planning in principle, I think when you look at the location, and apparently it does address the issue of that access to the play area, which we were told by the agent, the same landowner used to own that land. I think my memory served me correct, he donated it or sold it pretty cheap to the village to build that play area. But anyway, I can't see there's no real detrimental impact on putting 5 or 7 dwellings on there. I really can't. So in principle, and because of the tilted balance, most certainly, and we want housing, for goodness sake, we want housing. We want to sustain our villages. These are the real reasons that I'm moving that we go with approval of this, Chair.
What, the tilted balance and lack of 5-year land supply?
Is a principal reason, yeah.
So just on that, so para 11D2 of the MPPF is what you're basing that on, Councillor Leather, but that specifically directs towards key paragraphs now, so key principles that just need to be articulated, so that it's a sustainable location, that it's efficient use of land, that there's potential for it to be a well-designed place, and there will be a provision of affordable houses. Like I said, your starting point is the local plan. National policy is crucially important, and this location is very much, from a policy point of view, would be local needs or affordable led housing, which this isn't. So that just needs to be articulated under those terms as to why you consider on balance it should be supported.
Yeah, on balance, yeah, because we really do need to address sustaining the villages with housing. It is important. When you think we're plastering glass panels all over good farmland in Devon and in Torridge.
That's a completely separate issue,
Completely
Councillor
separate.
Leather.
But when it comes to housing, there seems to be some resistance. Which I can't understand. But anyway, I'll leave it there, Chair.
I think Councillor Bushman seconded your proposal. Did we have a seconder for Councillor Hames's refusal? No. Any further comments then, please?
I just want to be reassured that what someone, I can't remember who said it, that if it comes back and it's, the design comes back eventually, and we sit around this table and think, now, why did we do that? Because actually we don't like what's what's lying in front of us now. We can, as a committee, do something about it.
So technical details stage, you consider design, you consider housing mix. That there may only be 5 that come forward. That is a risk here, and you would have no recourse.
I have no recourse, sorry, I apologise, Chair. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
So if 5 came forward and that was actually a better layout, then you wouldn't have affordables. There's no guarantee. It's not as if it's 6 to 7, for example.
Okay.
There is that risk. They could come back and say it's not viable to provide affordable housing. That would be a consideration at TDC stage. But that could all be considered then. So if a scheme that wasn't delivering affordable housing came forward, or if the housing mix wasn't acceptable, then it could be refused.
I think Peter wants to come in.
Yeah, I would just say if it comes back for that TDC and it is 5, you then can't refuse it on principle grounds
Yeah.
because that's already been found acceptable and they will have.
That's what I was trying to work my head
Yeah, if it's
through.
5, you couldn't.
So we have,
Yeah.
I want to be absolutely clear on this because my heart says that this should absolutely be approved. Absolutely be approved. But we are driven back by a deficient local plan, effectively, which is really affecting small villages. And we're driven by a Secretary of State who sees the rural areas as a playground for rich people to come down here and have a holiday in rather than a living environment. So I'm torn between the two because I want to go by what the local plan, I have a duty on this committee to go by the local plan. And I'm alarmed by discovering today that if we approve it, then anything can be put in there and we have a recall again. And that does frighten me because, and it's nothing against the applicants or the speaker previously, but if we then give permission in principle, it opens the floodgates to others along the way. And that is the balance I am really struggling with here at the moment, I have to say.
And just on the local plan, obviously I think everybody's frustrated that we haven't been properly able to embark on a new local plan yet. Early work is being done on settlement hierarchy as a priority, and there's some interesting work that the policy teams are doing. But frustrations with the local plan isn't a reason to disregard it. And I think it is still your starting point, and it's important to note that, and this is endorsed by inspectors, that our approach to settlements is consistent with national policy. So I do appreciate the frustrations, but that is your starting point. And yes, you have provisions under Para 11.2D to consider specifically those matters around sustainability, affordable housing, well-designed places, and come to a contrary view. I would say that this scale of open market housing, I don't think we've seen in a rural settlement across the district. So it would be unusual. We have seen rural local needs housing of a smaller scale. So if it was affordable led, it would be compliant. So I think it's just important you understand that next stage, and that if 5 came forward, as the case officer said, there could be risk. If there's 6 or 7, then 30% affordable housing would apply. But they could evidence viability at that stage, and it would be assessed on its merits at that stage.
I think the important thing is what the officer says, it's not meeting local need, you know, it's not local workers housing, it's not local needs housing, it could be anything really. And I agree, we need a proper application which identifies which comes forward on the, you know, the grounds of local need really.
Yeah, I do think, I do agree with Councillor Hames. If we refuse this now, it gives the applicant an opportunity to come back with a plan which we understand it will be 5 or 7 and what it is. But now if we approve this, they could come back with anything and we, you know. So I'm going to second Councillor Hames's refusal.
Chair.
Yes, Councillor Leather.
Well, we are considering planning in principle on it.
Yeah.
And it is capable of having these 5 to 7 dwellings on there. Now, this is a comparatively new introduction, this planning in principle,
Yeah.
it really to speed up the housing market, really, is what's behind it. And we've still got, when a technical details application, if one gets submitted, we've still got plenty of reasons to argue about what's on there. We can't just come back with an application that certainly wouldn't suit the village and wouldn't suit us, you know, and get it through past the planning officers and this committee if it came to this committee. So in principle, when you look at it, that site could take 5 to 7 dwellings without any problem. The issue about drainage is all to be discussed, but we've seen it is capable of all that. Highways is fine, it's in the village, or well, it's in the village as much as a lot of the other housing. So I can't see any reason not to go along with it.
You wanted to come back, Councillor Bushby?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I mean, planning manager mentioned the design a few minutes ago, and I think that's important here. I wouldn't like to see a relatively small site like this. I would like to see it compromised by someone forcing 7 in when 5 was more appropriate. Because what you don't want is 5 nice houses there and 2 affordable ones tacked on the end, which is slightly out of keeping with, you know,
The whole point is you might not get any affordable.
well, but if, as you said, and I don't have a problem if we haven't got any affordable ones, provided the 5 that comes in the design, you know, suits the surrounding location, etc. I think the design, the ultimate design is critical here. I think, you know, design permission in principle gives the applicants the opportunity to actually come up with something that is going to suit the area, is going to suit certainly suit the Towers Council and this committee. So I just got to wait and see what comes back in. Whether it's 5 or 7 is irrelevant. It's somewhere in between that.
The parish council have got no objections to it, really, only that on the sewage issue, which is in the report, to be addressed. And they're worried about the access to the play park.
Seconded first.
All right. Right, there's no further comments then. Councillor Leather recommended approval and it was seconded by Councillor Bushby. So we are voting to approve this PIP application.
Councillor Bushby,
For,
Councillor Hames,
against,
Councillor Leather,
For,
Councillor Locke,
Against?
Councillor O'Rourke,
Against.
Councillor Pennington,
For.
Councillor Whitaker.
Against. Sorry.
That's
T3.
3-4, 4 against and no abstentions, Chair.
Right, so we now go to the second proposal that the application is refused. That was by Councillor Hames and seconded by myself. All those for refusal, please.
Councillor Bushby,
Against.
Councillor Hames, Councillor Leather,
against,
Councillor Locke,
For?
Councillor O'Rourke,
For.
Councillor Pennington,
Against.
Councillor Whitaker.
Abstain.
That's 3-4, 3 against and 1 abstention, Chair.
So I've got the casting
I think
vote.
that's an abstention.
You've got friends, Jane, haven't you?
So I've got the casting vote then?
Yeah.
Yes, Chair.
Well, I was struggling with this.
So,
Jane, I struggled.
so as chair, I've got the casting vote, and as I voted originally for the refusal, I will refuse this application. The casting vote. Thank you. Right then, moving swiftly on. We now go on to the appeals decision, which is on pages 80 to 96. Any comments on those?
Can I
Yes, Councillor.
ask about the Fristock one, when you've had an appeal against, did you have a match in the planning inspectorate? You each other took each other for courses, I read them.
Yeah, that, it happens.
Obviously you fell out occasionally.
No, I wouldn't say it's a case of falling out. I mean, as an authority, we don't apply for costs very often. I'm not sure of the particular case as to why the officer in that case felt the need to. Neither were awarded.
No, they weren't, but it's
so-
just interesting reading to, you know, a bit like a good legal battle that went on between the
Yeah,
two sides.
It does happen.
Thank you.
No other comments on the appeals then?
No.
Number 9, the cost on appeals, pages 97 to 102.
Sorry, got one more question. It's about the horse stable one as well, because you can have the stables now, a huge great stables without any land around it, as I understand it.
The appeal decision would suggest that. I think officers were surprised by that decision.
Does that
Um,
open up the gates for big stables in the middle of the village on a small field that may one day come for alternative use, etc.?
I think it's one appeal decision, isn't it? And officers and likewise committee members, we must all have regard to inspectors' decisions and take note of them. I think we'll just sort of have to see what comes
thank
in
you.
and assess it on its merits.
No other comments?
No other comments, Dave.
Item number 10, delegated decisions, AGMB, page 103.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yes, Councillor Hames.
104, I'm sorry. Was that the
No.
104?
So the planning decisions, item number 11, page 104.
Yeah, erection of temporary structure for bonfire on Torrington Common. I just wonder whether officers took impact on climate into account. But there we are. As we're going to be burnt down. And the other one, the one in 4 Street Northern, the brewery, I thought that was called in, or
Yeah, just to clarify on that, it was called in, I believe, by Councillor James.
yeah.
There was a lot of subsequent work that was done, I think particularly around amenity and noise impacts, and further assessments were done. And the officer remained in communication with Councillor James, who was then satisfied to withdraw his call in based on the position that was reached.
Page 106.
Yeah, Chair, there are several of these TPO applications. They don't go to parish councils then.
I thought
There's
we
several,
did.
aren't there? We don't seem to get them anymore at Northern.
I can check on that. I know we've had this discussion before, haven't we,
Yeah.
Councillor Hames? And there's no statutory requirement to consult or notify, but I think if there is a very significant tree that's obviously visible to the community, that it would be made, that the parishes would be made aware. So I will check that's happening.
Page 107.
I've actually read these for change. Yeah, there's another tree one, and then further down, ancillary domestic accommodation to a holiday let at Richmond Park, Northern. There was quite strong feelings against that at Northern Planning Committee, I remember, in terms of lack of parking space and amenity aspects, given the size of the site. But yeah, just to say that really.
Page 108. 109. 110. 111. I've got, what on earth is finally disposed of? Does that, in respect to
So-
the tree branches?
No, so finally disposed of is a provision that's available to authorities. It's very, very rarely used, but it's if an application has been in for a significant amount of time, if no contact has been provided by the applicant, despite regular contact being made by the officers. It can only be done in very exceptional circumstances, but I'm assuming that would have been the case there.
Right, that's we've got no part 2, so I formally close the meeting at 11:20.